Greetings, folks. Just out of the High Court today. It was on a hybrid link today, and Justice Emily Egan was given her final order for costs and her final order in relation to the preservation of the election material. But look, folks, what she's done now is she has looked at all the evidence. Like, you know, we remember back in May, the Gardaí had indicated that they had no current grounds to seek a warrant for the 2024 electoral materials, but would examine them if obtained by the applicant, by myself. And then in the 13th of June, the Gardaí updated their position, confirming now that the documents are required for a live criminal investigation. The respondents, the clerk of the Dáil, were there today, and they acknowledged this and accepted it as it creates a reasonable belief that the materials may be needed for the prosecution under the Electoral Act. But in light of this, they undertook to retain the documents and notify me, the applicant, of any change. But look, Her Honour Justice Egan, she issued a formal order recording the respondents to undertaking to preserve the electoral materials, given the Gardaí's updated stance. However, the judge declined to go further and issue an order mandating preservation of these documents. I asked to see the sealed documents and inspect them from the general election as a candidate. I was entitled to do that, but again, the judge refused it and said that, you know, it's only available for access in limited statutory circumstances, namely in an election petition or a formal prosecution under the Electoral Act. Despite I standing in court and as a candidate and as a citizen with a clear and lawful intent to initiate legal proceedings, including a prosecution against the presiding officer, the returning officer and the polling clerk, the court denied this access. And, you know, I emotionally appealed to the judge. I said, you know, why am I, as a candidate with a constitutional interest, not being allowed to access these sealed documents when I have a legal right to them and they are crucial to the proceedings I'm drafting? But the judge didn't want to hear it and told me I had a right to appeal it. And I said I will be going to the Supreme Court for that. Now, the judge made an order for costs in favour of me, the applicant, today for the total of €860, which I stress, you know, must include my travel expenses, given the burden placed on me as a lay litigant pursuing matters out of public interest. David Leonard was there as the clerk of the Dáil's legal team, along with Stephen Fitzpatrick and Romana Quinn. But David Leonard stood up and said that he wanted to make an application for costs against me, the applicant, but the judge refused that. Instead, the judge said that she was taking a broad brush approach and giving me €100 a day, return to Dublin from Kerry, 4 days, that's €400, and €460 for the stamp duty that I had to pay on the legal papers. And I said to her, why, you know, what was she basing the travel expenses, the €100? Like, how did she come up with that figure? So she said, look, I'm taking a broad brush approach to it. And she said that's what witnesses' mileage get. But I said, in the Superior Court rules, it states that mileage may be reimbursed at 45 cents a kilometre. And I also stated to the judge that I'm not a witness. I brought these proceedings. This, folks, I believe, is not a favour. This is about justice. Look, I informed Her Honour Justice Egan that I would be now appealing this decision to the Supreme Court, specifically highlighting how my understanding was that how the judge erred in law and breached constitutional principle by refusing to preserve and disclose evidence despite Garda interest. I also voiced my deep sense of injustice when the court dismissed 2 of my grounding affidavits that I filed on Friday, documents central to my case and a right as a candidate and a citizen. Look, folks, I feel a grave injustice has been done to me today. The evidence I seek is not only relevant but necessary, and the refusal to preserve it could frustrate not only civil but criminal proceedings. What message now, folks, does this send to people like me who fight for the truth, transparency and accountability? And, you know, I also note that journalist Fiachra Gallagher was given a link, a hybrid link, to observe the hearings remotely, ensuring public and press oversight. So it'll be interesting to see what spin he'll put on it. Look, folks, this marks another chapter in Michelle Keane's ongoing legal struggle for electoral integrity and accountability. My courage as a lay litigant facing a very complex and often inaccessible legal system has again come into focus. And look, folks, it does take an emotional toll on me because I'm not a robot, I'm human. And this was visible in court today, you know, where I stood up for myself as a lay litigant and told the judge out what I felt about the injustice that was being done to me and how I was now going to seek it in the Supreme Court. So look, folks, I'll keep you updated, but again, this is only another chapter in seeking justice. And look, I do believe in justice at the end of the day, and I do believe in God, and that I will get the justice that I'm looking for. Gora Mila Mahagiv.